Hey, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co., and this is the month in review for March of 2024. I almost said 2023 there. I still find myself occasionally saying 2023, or actually just last week I found myself typing 2023 into a bunch of dates before finally realizing that it was actually 2024, and I had been typing the wrong date, but that's okay. It wasn't a big deal because it's my own personal notes, and I still understood what I meant, even though I typed it wrong. At least for now, but later it'll come back to bite me. Anyways, March of 2024, this is your month in review. Usually what I go ahead and do in this series, I talk about all the things that stand out in the month. I talk about the board game stats, the games I played, all of those things. I talk about my favorite games of the month, my biggest disappointments, my crowdfunding highlights in general, favorite videos on this channel, as well as favorite videos I've watched on other channels. So you can get a bit of a general sense of the highlights of the month. And let's go ahead and start off with board game stats. I played 106 games in March. Well, more specifically, 106 plays in March. I actually played 58 different games, of which 36 were new to me. So 22 old games, 36 new ones, 106 total plays. I thought it was actually the worst month I've had in a while, but in November I played 102 games, so only the worst month in the past 5 months, I guess. Not that bad. A typical month for me, I find, is around 150 plays. A really good month is over 200, and 100 is usually a bad month for me. But I had a lot of travel in March, and travel tends to slow me down as far as, well, anything and everything. It means I'm spending more time just it slows me down. Travel slows me down a lot in general. So not the worst month, but also I want to get back in the swing of things. I hope April's better. I don't know if it will be. April also has Passover, which is going to slow me down too. There's a lot of, we'll see how things are. It's still a lot of games. Just not as many as I would like to. Anyways, 106 games played, 58 different ones, 36 new to me, only 3 games that I have at least 5 plays of. Again, usually I have a lot more that I got to past the 5 plays, but only 3 this month. We had Courtesans with exactly 5 plays, we had Dominion with 6 plays, and Nana with 7 plays, or Trio. I played Trio version. Trio with 7 plays. So really not a lot of plays, all things considered, getting a lot of the usual games covered, or, playing a lot of new games to review, playing a bunch of older games, but just less in general this month than normal, although I want to change that. We have what? We have, I don't know, another 2 weeks left in April for me to go ahead and continue making sure April is on track. I don't even know what April's numbers look like right now, and I'm a little scared, but I won't look if you don't, okay? We just won't talk about it. We won't talk about it. Listen, life is not just board games, but it's mostly board games. Anyways, that's my stats for the month. Not a lot of interesting stuff as far as stats go. I think because I only have 5 games played, I think my H-index was 4. I think that's what I got to my H-index for this month. Although we'll check my H-index for like the year and all time at different points. Anyways, as far as my favorite videos I watched, these are favorite videos that I watched on other people's channels. The various channels that I, generally in the board game space, not exclusively, and my favorite videos I saw there. We have I Was Hacked This Weekend from Jamie Stegmaier. Not a good video in any typical sense, but I still really appreciated the video just from the sheer amount of knowledge and usefulness there is. Regardless of who you are, for sure, if you are a content creator and you have a YouTube channel, but in general, just for anyone. Basically, short version is he got hacked, and he's talking about his experience, how it happened, things you can do to be more careful, things to be more mindful in the future, things he's going to do. I thought it was both entertaining-ish, useful information, and not good for him. It all ended well, by the way, just for the record. It did all end well, but still frustrating all the same. We have Game Expo. We have from Gamma Expo. We had Board Game Geek had a video. Eric March had a video. New games are for new gamers. This is not his video. His video was talking about the Gamma Expo, but he had a line in there: "New games are for new gamers." I appreciated the overall video in general, the outlook on the industry, and for me, that even just that one line, that one small little conversational bit about new games are for new gamers, inspired me to make my own video about the nature of just the constant addition of things in the board game space. Something we see in every space, but I find typically in board games we're all more invested. We're more present, so even though they're making the same movie 17 times a year all the time, no one cares. But when they do it with board games, because we're in this field, we're like, why do we need another one? Although some of it comes down to the consumption of things too. Like, I think most of us view a movie as something to watch and move on from, unless it's like a really good movie. Whereas to a certain extent, the default assumption for a board game is that they should not be moved on from, they should be enjoyed and then continue to enjoy. And I think that changes the way we interact with some of these things. Anyways, we also had 7th Citadel unboxing and why do I keep buying new campaign games. This is from Board Game Rambling. It's just a video. He's unboxing 7th Citadel and he's talking about why he keeps buying campaign games, even though he'll play them for a little bit and then move on from them. A problem I am very familiar with, a problem I have myself, and a problem I should talk about myself at some point. I talked about it in general, but the very short version, he talks about in his video, but the very, very short aspect of it is there's a sense of exploration, there's a sense of desire, there's a sense of promise, and some of those games you actually do delve into more, others not as much, but there's still that sense of starting off in a journey, and whether you finish or not is a different story. Think of it similar to TV shows. I start a lot of TV shows. Many of them I do not finish, and some are good enough that I do finish. Now, board games tend to be a little bit more expensive and a little bit more time-consuming to get to that research point and figure it out for yourself, but I have the same problem. I start a lot of things with a lot of promise and a lot of expectation that I will finish them. Some of them I do, most of them I do not. Some because I don't want to, others because I just have to pick and choose where my time goes, and so that sense of discovery and promise doesn't always manifest in something that's actually going to be on my table for hundreds of hours. Sometimes yes, other times no. We have a Board Game Buzz had a chat episode, a buzz chat episode, as well as a chat about ratings and all that stuff. So basically they talk about, this is Carly from Board Game Buzz, and she talks about, and her friend, who I apologize, I don't remember your name, but they basically talk about how they rate games, what their thought process is, what goes into the rating, what their ratings mean. I always appreciate these kinds of conversations. I do find ratings in the board game space can be all over the place in the way people approach them, myself included. I don't mean like in a bad way. I just mean we all have different ways that we approach our ratings, what goes into the thought process, how we approach them. Are we rating on behalf of ourselves? Are we rating on behalf of how good it is based on what it's trying to do? What kind of point scale do you use? Do you use decimals? To what point of decimals? There's a lot of different things that go into board game ratings. I always appreciate these types of conversations, and especially if you're watching Board Game Buzz, you should definitely know what goes into their own thought as far as how they rate games. And then lastly, from the Dice Tower, we had Board Game Geek's most underused features. Chris took a look at this one and basically talking about Board Game Geek's most underused feature, underappreciated feature, I don't know, but it's the recommended player count box. Over on Board Game Geek, on every single game, you can see the player count, and you can click on it, and you can go ahead and see the recommended player count, which is based on individual people voting on how well that game works. So sure, a box has 2 to 5 players, but that's meaningless if the 2-player count is terrible and the 5-player count takes too long, and really people think it's really ideal at 4 players, but it's pretty good at 3-2. And you can see that information on nearly any game, and something that I've been using it so instinctively for like a decade now that I wouldn't have even thought to do a video like that, but I think it's such a good video to do. It is really important. I think there are many tools on BGG that many people don't necessarily know exist, but the recommended player count, I agree, is one of the most common tools I personally use when trying to gauge whether I want to actually table that game with this particular game night. That's going to be my favorite videos of the month, which brings us to the best new games of the month. Best new games for me, these are new to me games that I played for the first time in March of 2023, 2024. You see, I did it there. But basically, these we have, starting at number 5, we have Life in Reterra from Eric Lang and Hasbro. Really enjoy that one. Overall, had fun with time with it. My biggest complaint against it, and the reason my number 5, is just that I find that I don't know if it's as safe as other games, just because I think many other games, I believe, sorry, I'm saying this wrong. There are many games that do a similar thing as to what Life in Reterra does, as far as giving you some sort of tile laying and some form of optimization around, how to score points in different ways. So as much as I enjoy Life in Reterra, it's competing in a very crowded space. So it's my number 5 over there. Number 4 comes into Courtesans. Courtesans, which I gave the same rating as I did Life in Reterra, both were 4 out of 5. But in the case of Courtesans, it's very different than other games I have, and it's much more likely to stick around, at least for a while, just because of the small box, the easy playtime, the very low player count, and the fact that I don't have another game that feels as similar compared to, like, again, Life in Reterra. I feel like so many games I have are doing a similar thing. I like Life in Reterra. And number 3, we have The Veil of Eternity. I only got one play of this in. You have not seen a review because I didn't actually get to play my own copy. I had a chance to play this one at the Gamers Ranch at Adam 2024, and I really enjoyed Veil of Eternity. Possibly my biggest highlight from the non-featured games. They had a lot of games from the publishers, from Eagle Griffin, from Queen Games, and Inside Up. But from their games, it might have been my favorite game that I played. Veil of Eternity was very satisfying. A little open drafting puzzle and optimization around your cards. Really had a lot of fun with it. At number two, we have The Dead Keep. I think The Dead Keep is excellent. I really enjoy The Dead Keep. There are small little nitpicks that held it back for me. I really do hope they address those nitpicks. Again, I never expect anyone to ever do anything based on my own feedback, but if my own feedback triggers them to examine something and look at other players' feedback and all that, then great. But I think The Dead Keep is really excellent. I had some complaints around the end game and the final boss and the way that manifests that I'd love to see that cleaned up, but outside of that, I really appreciated it, and I'm looking forward to The Dead Keep. And at number one, I'm sure you're expecting a giant big box dungeon crawler at this point, but it's not. The Dead Keep was number 2. We have number 1 is Things and Rings from Allplay. I had a chance to play this at Gamma Expo, and it is really, really good. I think Things and Rings is a really good time. I think it's a very fun, simple, puzzly, deductive game that I just think is so charming. Like, I can't wait to get my hands on that game, to review that game, to cover it. I can tell you right now, my opinion is very positive. I got like 3 or 4 plays in at Gamma alone, and I'm looking forward to tabling it more when it shows up, because I thought it was really good. It was a really good puzzle/party game. Oh my gosh, I should hold off I see I had on my list to do my top 10 party games. I should probably hold off because Things and Rings might count. Yeah, Things and Rings might count as a good party game for me to hold on to, so we'll see on that. We'll see what happens there. Anyways, those are my favorite new to me games for March 2024. Then we have my disappointments. As usual, most categories over here, I've specifically picked 5 things. Disappointments, I don't go for 5, I just go for whatever number ends up happening, and it's usually 3. It's almost always 3. I think like 1 month I had 2. I don't think I've ever had 4. But disappointments do not mean bad games. They do mean games that I was hoping to like more than I did, and they in some way let me down. Starting at number 3, we have Wandering Towers. Wandering Towers from Capstone Games is a little charming game in the way it looks. I didn't expect a lot from it, but I think I got even less than I expected from it. Like, it's a lighter game that's a little bit more chaos driven, and it's kind of like you just go ahead and play some cards and move some towers around and then somebody wins. But it's like a little bit of memory, which doesn't really fit as well with the game. It adds a little charm, but not enough to compensate for the fact that there's now like luck and memory in place of strategy. And there's just chaos as far as the cards you draw, the things people do. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of sense of agency. It feels like a game that you want to play if you want to have like a somewhat fun game with somewhat strategy. It was not a bad game. I wouldn't mind playing it, but it definitely, I thought it would be a lighter game that I enjoyed as opposed to a lighter game that I was okay with, and it's just the second category. At number 2, we have Lightspeed Arena. Lightspeed Arena is going to be a game that's actually be coming out soon at some point, but Lightspeed Arena, and to be very clear, not a bad game, but I played the game it's based off. There's originally Lightspeed, then there was Stellar Conflict, I want to say. I had originally played Stellar Conflict and really enjoyed it, and I found Lightspeed Arena is basically being created by the people who made this app that scans these cards. Like a real-time game, you place down cards with lasers on them, and this app scans the cards and resolves the battle for you, which makes the game much easier to play and removes any arguments. But for me, it removed some of the sense of feeling of what's going on in the battlefield. I didn't get to get that sense that I understand the resolution of all the conflict happening. So as much as I enjoyed Lightspeed Arena, and I did think it was fun, to be very clear, I think it was fun, but I was coming at it from liking Stellar Conflict, and I think I liked Lightspeed Arena a little less because of the app when I was hoping to like it a little more. And then lastly, we have Ultimate Dibs. Ultimate Dibs coming to you from Sky... Oh my gosh, not Sky Kingdom. Is it Sky Kingdom? No. Maybe Sky Kingdom? No. What am I thinking of? Not Sky Kingdom. It was the people who did Wonderland's War, was done by Druid City Games, and... Why am I blanking on the name? Skybound, there we go. Skybound, Ultimate Dibs and Skybound is another fun party game that had a really good concept, but a messy... I didn't like the execution, because Ultimate Dibs was basically a combination of... Not combination, it's a grid of cards with different things in them, and your goal is to connect those things. So you have to come up with commonalities between them. The problem is the game itself. I like the concept. I like the concept a lot. It's like a similar concept you'll find in So Clover and Codenames and many of these kinds of games. But in the case of Ultimate Dibs, I found the execution left so much room for just players taking forever, as well as arguing over what did and didn't work. And I didn't like that degree of arguing and just infinite time for clues. So it's a good concept that ultimately was a little bit marred for me, that left me disappointed, because I really want to like the game. I think there's a good game there. I think its current execution and its current implementation, I think I would pick other games over it every single time. Those are my disappointments, which brings us to my favorite videos of the month for my channel. Coming at number 5, we have the 15 games I most want to play from 2022. You're starting a bunch of these 2022 videos where I take a look back, a full year back, and try to have a conversation around those games. There are still 15 games I want to play from 2022, some of which I believe I actually already tabled. I think I already tabled 2 of them, but I forgot which ones they are, so I'll just leave that to your imagination for now. We have the best 15 games of 2022 revisited. This is a video I do every year, the best games of the year. But I tend to revisit those in a later video, coming back at them, being like, hey, now that I've played a lot more, now that I have time for them to settle, how are things changing or not changing? And I like that look of, I like being able to talk about games with more time under my belt. It's not when people want the information. People want to know whether to buy the new game now, but sometimes it's helpful to see down the road, how is that new game held up? Is it still worth chasing them, or maybe not? Or are there things that have just, slipped by and it's worth talking about again, so you can get a sense and possibly chase it down and see if it's for you. And number 3, we have my most overdue crowdfunding campaigns. This is a series I've been doing. This is my 3rd time doing it, I believe, where I just take a look at all the games that are ridiculously overdue and talk about those games and see how things are. I don't know if this video will be done next year. I might still do it. I might not. I've been backing less games in general than I used to way back. So nowadays, like once upon a time, I was backing like 5 to 8 games a month, and now I back 1 game a month maybe on average. And so I just think there'll be less content for that series. So we'll see how it goes. If it shows up next year, it shows up next year. But in the meantime, I appreciate being able to look and see, well, most of my games that I've backed over the years have all shown up. There are some that slowly fade into the likely never getting, and some that are just way too late. And number 2, We have the 10 best board game publishers to buy for. This is a pun on words. Instead of being publishers to die for, it's publishers to buy for. It was very clever in my head. Didn't work out as well in the title. But basically, these are basically 10 board game publishers that really have an audience, that they have people who are there for them every single time. If they are selling a new game, then their people are going to show up and go ahead and back their next game. They have auto-back communities. There are a bunch of these. I did 10 of them in this video. That same week, the week in review of that week, I then added 10 more because people pointed out a bunch that I was like, yeah, I totally missed those. Since then, I had people add more, which I arguably missed, but there's just a lot of publishers out there that have a loyal audience, a loyal following, and I appreciate being able to call that out. If you have a loyal audience and a loyal following, it's usually because you're doing something right. Sometimes it's because of the sense of community that you have. Sometimes it's because your games are just always good. Sometimes it's because your games always hold their value. Whatever it is, if you have people who are there for you no matter what you put out, it's because you're doing at least something right. Maybe not everything, but something right. And so I like calling that out in a good way, and calling it out in a good way. And then my number one video of the month for me was, are big box games worth it? This is a video conversation I did with a viewer on the channel who dropped by, having a conversation around big box games. Are they worth it? Are they not? When are they like something you should try to get your hands on? And when are they something you should avoid because it's going to make it harder to table the game? I like going through that conversation, and I hope you enjoy it as well. As far as my crowdfunding highlights, these are 5 campaigns or 5 games and/or campaigns that I'm looking forward to. We have coming in at number 5, we have Etherstone. I was hoping to review Etherstone. It didn't actually end up happening, but I did play Etherstone, and I liked it, from Thundergriff Games. I liked the game, and overall I'm looking forward to showing up. It kind of had a fun little puzzly back and forth. It's a little abstract in some areas. I don't know if it's going to be a keeper forever, but my one and only play I definitely enjoyed, and I'm looking forward to playing it more. We have Austria Pirates, the expansion for Austria and Pirates. I really enjoyed Austria. It was a bit of a surprise hit for me. I expected to enjoy it. Didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. I thought it was very well done. We have River Valley Glassworks from Allplay, a game that I both enjoyed, played a lot, but then also the expansion, the campaign, had a bunch of these modules to mix it in, because my biggest complaint was I don't know if it'll be interesting enough over time. I think it needs something more to it, and they gave you something more in the shape of like 17 small little modules to mix into the game. We have Cascadia Rolling, which is basically Cascadia Rolling Hills and Rolling Rivers. That was a campaign as well. Then I'm looking forward to the final game on that one. Really enjoyed that game, and just, well, I want the final game. And then lastly, we have The Dead Keep. The Dead Keep was a pre-order from Simon, and I still really enjoy that one. I don't know where to count this as far as date, because I think it's still technically active, but it started in March, I think. I think it started in March. I'm pretty sure it did. But we have The Dead Keep. Definitely looking forward to that one. I like the game a lot, and I'm looking forward to the final version of it. And then finally, we have my highlights of the month in general. These are not new to me games, although one of them technically is, but they're my highlights of the month in general. Coming in number 5, we have Teachu. I had a lot of fun learning Teachu and playing Teachu. It's one of those videos I have to figure out what I'm doing in terms of, I want to do a filmed teach and play of Teachu, because it's the most ridiculous game ever to teach, and I want that experience on camera. But either way, I really enjoyed playing through Teachu. It's a very good teams game as far as how players are trying to figure out how to play cards in the right sequence to be able to outpace your opponent. It's very intricate, very rewarding, and very crazy and stupid. Coming in number 4, we have Dominion. Dominion, did I put Dominion? I put Dominion, yeah. Dominion, I guess. Because I put Dominion was in my, because usually I don't put games in multiple categories, but Dominion was in my, my few games that I actually played more than 5 times. Dominion. Dominion's always fun. Still enjoying it. I really enjoy the general puzzle of combining cards in different ways. The only problem is the app has made it so that I'm less likely to table the physical game, but I still own and love the physical game, and I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. At number 3, we have Deliverance. Still playing Deliverance. Still enjoying it. I had a lot of fun going through. I had a chance to play a custom scenario at Gamma. I think it's going to be going into the expansion for the game, but I really like Deliverance, and that's it. I really like Deliverance. I still like Deliverance. It's a lot of fun. A solid skirmish game with tons of level ups, powers, and abilities. At number 2, we have Cusco. Cusco from Queen Games, a re-implementation of Bora Bora. I really like Bora Bora, and I like Cusco more, so that's an easy choice there. And then coming in at number 1, my favorite game to play of the month was Slay the Spire, which I had a chance to play it at Gamma. My final copy has not arrived, but I had a chance to play this one, and I love the game. I think it's incredibly well done. I just think Slay the Spire does a great implementation. I've actually been playing some more of it on my I'm playing some more of it on my phone, but I think Slay the Spire, well, it's a video game first, then a board game. But I think Slay the Spire, the board game, is a delightfully good time, really captures the feeling of the video game, and is a solid game to dive into. Anyways, that's what we have as far as the highlights of the month, as far as the full month in review, for that matter. That is everything. Until next time, I hope you have a good... Until next time, jeez, I'm losing my train of thought over here. Until next time, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.